I'm sure a lot of you by now have heard the announcement that NXT is going to be heading to USA on September 18th of this year. And that its start time will be 8 p.m. Pacific and Eastern. And that's all good if you wanted NXT to have more of an exposure. And I am doing this unscripted and on the fly, so I do apologize for any pauses and all that here and there. But basically, this is good news if you wanted NXT and the men and women involved with it to get more exposure. However, with the good comes the bad and somewhat of a silver lining. The good, like I said, is the men and women that compete on NXT will get a chance to have more of a global audience see what they can do. The good is that Full Sail itself gets exposure as well, free advertisement, if you will. The good is a global audience can hear the commentary team of Beth Phoenix, Mauro Ronaldo, sorry if I pronounced that name wrong, and Nigel McGuinness to see how good they are. And the audience at Full Sail, the NXT audience, has a chance to show how passionate they are for this brand, so that that passion can be shared even through television to that global audience, so that global audience will be able to share in that passion as well and understand the love folks have for NXT. And that's all good. That's all the good stuff. However, though, with the good comes the bad. And the bad is this. There is a rumor, or there's reports and rumors going around that nobody wanted to hear, and people were hoping would never happen. And that is Vince McMahon either overseeing or taking complete control of NXT along with Kevin Dunn by association. And nobody wanted to hear, and nobody, once these reports came out, wanted to hear this. Because of the fact that if there was one person they did not want to be involved with NXT, it was Vince McMahon. But according to reports, there's a strong possibility that's going to probably happen. Now lately, according to what Delexman said on his Twitter, and others have said as well, apparently new reports have come out that that's not going to be the case, and things are still going to remain as is with Triple H running things behind the scenes. And if that's the case, if the latter is true, then cool. Nobody has anything to worry about. But let's take a look at the middle factor, the silver lining. Okay? The silver lining being that, like I said, Triple H would still be in charge. The only exception is by default of the move to USA and being on a bigger platform, Triple H would be put into that executive producer role that Heyman and, in a sense, Bischoff are in right now, and more so than ever, he would have to report to Vince McMahon. That's the silver lining with the exception. That's the exceptional silver lining, I should say. That Triple H would still get to run things his way, but just like Heyman and Bischoff, if not more so than ever, he would have to report to Vince to get Vince's final approval on things. However, there's a difference. Unlike Heyman and Bischoff, Vince fully trusts Hunter. Not just because of the fact that Hunter's his son-in-law / the husband of his daughter Stephanie, but he also sees that Hunter has a mind for the business from his own personal in-ring experience, as well as from a fan's perspective. He basically entrusts Hunter more so than the other two to make sure things are done successfully and done in a way that will make his product a success and beloved by the fans. So, like I said, the exceptional silver lining is Hunter would still be able to run things as if nothing changed. The only exception in the silver lining is he would still have to report to Vince more so than ever. Now, with the talk about the good and the bad, and what we could see taking, and what we could perceive as being a middle ground silver lining deal, let's talk about the possibility of Vince probably taking complete control, or at least starting to oversee things on NXT and how they're done. I'll put it this way, and I'm sure a lot of people might not agree or may agree or whatever, but Vince McMahon, I believe, would only take control, complete control, or start to oversee things along with Kevin Dunn, by association that is. Vince McMahon would only take control is if the ratings didn't reflect what he wanted to see. If the viewership and the ratings didn't reflect what he wanted to see, then and only then would he take control. Like for the first few weeks, from September 18th to October 2nd, you need not worry. You need not worry about a thing if the rumor and the reports are true that Hunter still remains in charge, maybe with the exception that he has to report to Vince more so than ever. So with that said, for the first few weeks between September 18th and October 2nd, you wouldn't have to worry about a thing. You wouldn't. You wouldn't have to worry about a thing. However, I say, from a timeline perspective or a time frame perspective, I say give it about a month. And I know some people will be like, oh, forget a month, give it about a week. But I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say give it about a month. And if, like I said, the ratings and the viewership don't reflect what Vince wants to see, and it reflects AEW, or basically it shows more favoritism to AEW than NXT, after a month, like I said, if things don't reflect the way Vince wants them to, that's when Vince is going to take control. Because I can just see after a month, if the ratings and the viewership favor AEW over NXT, I can see one day Hunter's coming in, getting ready to, sit down in his position to, run NXT like he usually does, and all of a sudden he walks in and he sees Vince sitting in his position along with Kevin Dunn. I can see Hunter going like, ugh, what are you doing in my chair, Vince? What's going on? And why is Kevin Dunn here? Ugh. And Vince could be like, oh, sorry, Hunter. The past month, AEW's been beating us in the viewership and the ratings, so I'm taking control now. And I shall run NXT the way it should be. And I'm going to show you an example. And I could just imagine him showing an example of a promo for a match between Gargano and Cole. And they come off like some kind of cartoonish characters. Like Cole could be like, and maybe Vince will give him this name just to see if that might work. Or like, here's Evil Cole, and Adam Cole being Evil Cole would be like, I am Adam Cole, the NXT World Champion, and by default, I rule the world, ha 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 ha, and you all bow to my servitude. And then he'll show him a promo of Johnny Gargano in a super outfit or something that he usually wears that represents a superhero, and he'll be like, and here's Super Gargano, and you can see Johnny being going like, no, Adam Cole, I am Super Gargano, and I shall defeat you with that NXT World title, and thus save the world! You see, basically that's what fans fear. Maybe that's a little exaggerated, but that's what fans fear. That's what fans fear. Fans will be willing to give, the benefit of the doubt that Vince won't interfere unless things get really bad in the ratings and the viewership. And that's why I said, from a time frame perspective, I'd say give it a month. And if the viewership and the ratings numbers are not what Vince wants, and they don't show favoritism to NXT, Vince is going to take control. That's a fact. I mean, right now the silver lining is Hunter possibly still going to be running things, but like I said, with him reporting to Vince more so than ever. But even if he's running things, but the viewership and the ratings don't reflect that, that's when you would see Vince McMahon take control. So what Hunter needs to do is basically take what AEW is promoting their promotion to be, and that's fan interactive, fan friendly, whatever, giving back to the fans, and he needs to take that concept and he needs to run with it and do exactly and legitimately what that saying is. Give the fans what they want. So for example, let's say you want to continue this Candice LeRae, Io Shirai feud into September, into October, then to counteract AEW's debut on TNT, let's say you want to put closure to LeRae and Shirai, and fans would suggest, put him in a barbed wire match, replace the ropes with barbed wire, or put him in a Hell in a Cell match, bring the Cell to Full Sail. If Hunter was to say, okay fans, you wanted it, you got it, you're going to get such and such match that's going to put an end to this feud once and for all. That right there would be by him doing that would be an example of giving the fans what they want, and it would show more favoritism. It would show more love towards NXT than AEW. Because you're giving the fans what they want. That's what you're doing. So to me, basically the only way Vince is going to take complete control, if he doesn't do it off the bat, or right off the bat I should say, the only way I see him taking control is if the ratings and the viewerships drip significantly after a month in favor of AEW. That's when you would see Vince try to take control and try to say, I'm going to do a better job. I can do a better job. And the way he would do this is the other thing that fans would not like to see, but it's kind of a bad, but here's the thing, it's kind of a silver lining / bad scenario. The silver lining is if he decides the best way to boost ratings and viewership for NXT is to bring in some of the main roster stars, the top main roster stars at times, to compete, against some of the established NXT veterans or stars, or you name it. If he feels that's the best way to get viewership and ratings, then he's going to do it. If he feels, you know what, this Velveteen Dream's not cutting it as the North American champ, I know, I'm going to bring in Randy Orton, and Randy Orton's going to beat him for the NXT North American title and bring some legitimacy to it. If he believes that's going to help viewership and ratings, then guess what? Vince is going to do it. Vince is going to do it. Yeah, the silver lining is you might get some potential dream matches, or matches you may not see for a while unless those individuals go to Raw and SmackDown. But the bad thing is Vince will probably want to put over these main roster stars over the established NXT stars, and if that NXT star's a champion and in Vince's mind that champion isn't cutting it, he'll want to give that championship to one of his main roster people. That's the truth, and I'm just checking something right there, but that's the truth. That is the absolute truth. The fact that he'd be willing to give it to one of his main roster stars, that a championship, just to try to bring it legitimacy and maybe bring viewership and ratings into NXT. That would probably happen. It. But right now, with that said though, I'm going to look at it this way. The good thing is NXT, from everything I mentioned at the start, is going to get a global, more wider audience to see exactly what they bring to the table. That's the good thing. That is the good thing. The bad thing The bad thing is the potential that Vince could take control or oversee things and want to change some things. The silver lining is that Triple H would still be in charge, but he would have to report more so to Vince than ever before. Just like Heyman and Bischoff do. The silver lining that's combined with the bad is we could potentially see some dream matches we'd have to wait for, possibly for a while, until those stars went up to Raw or SmackDown, with the main roster stars coming down and competing against them. That's a silver lining. You get these good matchups. The bad out of that silver lining would be that these top main WWE stars would go over the NXT talent, and if that NXT talent is a champion, there's the potential that champion would lose their title to that top main roster star. And that's the truth. You know. And of course, the real concern, in my opinion, would be after a month or so of competing against each other, that if the ratings and the viewership are not reflective in the way that Vince wants them to be, then one day Vince is going to walk into Full Sail and either order his son-in-law to get up out of his chair, and then he's going to proceed, after Triple H gets up, to plop himself in his chair and take control. Or he's going to beat Hunter to the live event, to Full Sail or wherever NXT might be, mostly Full Sail maybe, and take control there before Hunter arrives. Because like I said, the scenario I could see playing out is Hunter walks in to the gorilla position to get ready to do his job from a behind the scenes deal, and he sees Vince and Kevin Dunn, by default if you will, sitting in the position that he and one of his lead guys would be sitting in, and Vince explaining to him, hey, you know, your product's not bringing in the viewers and the ratings, so I'm taking over now. And again, I know people might say, don't give it a month, give it a week. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say give it a month. But in my opinion, though, overall, we'll just have to wait and see what happens and occurs, what reported sources are going to be true and what not, and just go from there. But those are just my thoughts on NXT coming to USA. Yes, I think it's great. They're going to get bigger and better exposure. But let's kind of contain our concerns right now and see what happens. That's how I want to view it. So let me know what you guys think, though, down below. Comment if you like, and I'll talk to y'all later.